I'm gonna have to shorten that. That was a little bit too long. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. This is the Code of Conduct with the King podcast. I am your host, JSpenceTheKing, and we are here live Monday, April 26th, and it is the Colossal Conduct. In case y'all didn't know, that means it's going down. It's your boy, JSpenceTheKing. I have several guests tonight, but none other than my big special guest, Mr. Jim Manos, previously of the Buffalo Bills personnel office. Listen, it is about to go down. He actually I'm about to bring him in right away because he already jumped in and was like, yo, I got some stuff to talk about. I'm going to get it off my chest. So I'm going to bring my man Jim in. Jim, thank you so much for joining us tonight on the Buffalo Rumblings YouTube network. I was about to say the podcast network. On the Code of Conduct podcast show. Thank you so much for joining me. How's it going today, man?
I can't thank you guys enough for having me. And today's been a great day. They always are here in Buffalo. You know, last week we got teased with some weather. You know, I'm not sure what's going on outside right now, but I'm ready to get that warmth back. So
you're still in Buffalo?
I am in Buffalo right now. Yeah, my wife's from here, so you know we stuck around here, came back. We actually moved to South Carolina after we got let go in Buffalo. Lived down there for a couple years, came back. Now we have a son and raising him up here right now, but it's been fun.
All right, man. Well, that's cool, man. It's not many people. I know, like obviously the guys that most of the fans like fall in love with, and it's like they become lifers. Certain guys stick around, but for the most part, afterwards you hear about people leaving when they're not with the organization. So I think it's cool that you made your way back up to Western New York, man. So, but welcome to the Code of Conduct, man. It's gonna be a fun night. So the way this is gonna go, ladies and gentlemen, Jim obviously has the type of knowledge that somebody like me, I don't get to kind of tap into too often. So with him being a special guest tonight, I wanted to have, we got my man Bruce Nolan, we got Joe Miller. It was supposed to be Greg Tompsett of Cover One, but Sterling is actually going to fill in his place because Greg wasn't feeling too well. And then we got my man Dave Tilton from Buffalo Fanatics. So it's a cross-network event. I'm trying to show some unity, man. We're going to show Buffalo is just as good as the team, you know, like our content creators is just as good as the squad. So before I bring Bruce in for the first round of questions, you were talking a little bit prior to the show. We were talking about the draft, and we were talking about what you think some teams are going to do. I want to start off with San Fran. I got some friends in San Francisco, and the thing is, I'm shocked that the Jimmy experience didn't work out. You know, because everybody in New England was like, you know, hey, after Tom Brady, we wanted Jimmy. It just doesn't look like Jimmy would have been the answer there either. So I'm kind of like, hey, send him back to New England. What do you think San Fran is going to do?
You know, it's crazy. I'm with you where to me, the 49ers got their guy. I mean, he took him to a Super Bowl. And honestly, yeah, he didn't play great in that Super Bowl and obviously missed some throws that could have changed the outcome of that game. But what I'm hearing out of San Fran from my friends that are still working in the league is Shanahan doesn't like Garoppolo. He thinks he's a prima donna. He doesn't think he's smart enough. And that just leads you to everything you're hearing about Mac Jones. When you study Mac Jones as a player, it makes sense if that's what he's looking for, where, hey, just run the offense the way I want it run. And if that's what Shanahan's looking for, it makes sense that Mac Jones now seems to be the heavy favorite to go at 3. As a gambling man, you know, I put that in last week. The odds are kind of shooting through the roof right now because I think it's coming out a little bit more that it looks like the 49ers are taking Mac Jones. But that's the crazy part of these drafts where you don't really know unless you're inside the building, and I'm not inside. It is kind of strange being on the outside, but you have to just go with your, you know, to me, if there's smoke, there's fire. And we've heard Mac Jones for enough to feel like that's got to be the pick.
Matt, so okay, you just said, so it's kind of like you're not used to not being in the building too. Like, you know, you've had a career now at this point in the building. So it's Monday of the draft. Right now, with you being in the building, what's Monday like for you right now? What are you doing?
You know, these weeks are awesome. You're done. The work is done. You could have had the draft 3 weeks ago. At this point, you go in, you're kind of going through scenarios, possibly, hey, especially if you're picking at the top of the draft. If you're the Bills picking at 30, it's a little different. I was fortunate enough to be in New Orleans where we were picking in these 30s before, you know, with some good years. And really, there's not much you can do if you're not trying to go up and make big moves. And you honestly, it's a fun week. I mean, you're just kind of letting it play out. But if you're trying to be aggressive and get after that pick, if you think this is your window and you need one guy, you're picking in the top 10, or you're trying to get back, it's a fun. I mean, you're banging out the phone calls, you're banging out every scenario you can think of.
As a fan, it's fun because obviously, we do all these mock drafts, and then we watch, NFL Network, and we watch ESPN and FS1, and we look at all of these things that they say our team is going to do, and then we always get disappointed. Well, sometimes it works out. This year it's a little different. The Bills, it seems like, truly for the first time, like in a while, we really can go best player available. It seems like that's what Brandon Beane has been doing, but it also seems like the best player available kind of seems to fit with what our need happens to be. Where do you see the Bills kind of, what direction? I know we're going to get a little deeper into it later on, so I don't want you to kind of go too deep into philosophy. But do you think it's going to be a defensive draft for the Bills, or do you think this is going to be heavier to the offensive side?
You kind of summed it up kind of perfectly as far as basically when you're picking 30th, you want to get who you feel like is the best player at that pick, because obviously you're already a good football team, right? You're picking 30th. You have your quarterback. Josh is good, so you don't have to worry about quarterback. Now you got to take the best player that you think can add value to your team. Now, if you have two guys that are equal and one's a corner and one's a guard, that's up. The Bills are obviously, they know what they want more than anything, but I would always think with Sean being a defensive guy, having the final say, I don't see any reason why the Bills shouldn't keep building that defense at this point. I think the offense is kind of loaded up. Now, if there's a guy they value and they have a vision for that player, that's different. But to me, you can't have enough good players on defense. Once you have a franchise quarterback, build that defense. That defense.
Yeah. Well, I'm with you. We finally got our guy, man. It feels good. It feels good. Really quickly, Young Holla 28 on Twitter, I'm guessing, because this is Periscope's, asking if we're live on YouTube. We are absolutely live on YouTube. So actually, if you are watching on Periscope, do me a favor. I'm not asking you to hop out and stop watching me. I'm asking you to hop out, jump over to YouTube, subscribe, like, do me a favor. We need you to like that thing, because when you like it, it kind of plays with the algorithm. And then when you search for Buffalo Bills content, you get to see the code of conduct. You get to see Joe Miller. You get to see everything else that we're doing in the Hump Day Hotline. So please head over to YouTube, hit subscribe and like. So I'm going to get right into it, man. I had a couple more questions for you, but I'm going to save them towards the end for myself, because I'm ready to bring in some of these other content creators. This first gentleman I'm going to bring in, he is, I brag now because I get to speak to him daily, and I feel like my podcast has gotten a ton better since he is, kind of taking me under his wing, and we've spent some time together. So I'm gonna bring in Mr. Exclusive himself, Mr. Bruce Nolan, also of the Buffalo Rumblings podcast network. How's it going today, Bruce?
It's fantastic. It's a party all the time. Just disco balls, dancers, the whole thing.
Hey. Well, it is a party anytime that we all get together. So look, we got my man Jim here. We got Bruce. We had the opportunity to already introduce Bruce and Jim behind the scenes prior to the show starting. So we're gonna get right into it, Bruce. Go for it. You got your questions ready? Let's shoot it.
Okay, Jim. So with the team that made it to the AFC Championship game last season, you would imagine, like you said, the roster would be solid. The coaching staff has continuity and experience. The front office has been lauded. Where do the Bills have the best opportunity to improve as an organization as a whole to take the next step toward perennial contender status? Is it simply build up that defense? Is there something bigger? Is there something different?
I am all about that defense. Whoever you value as the best pass rusher or best corner, cover safety, nickel corner at 30, take them. You have to go beat Mahomes. You're going to have to deal with Wentz and Mayfield. And you got to deal with these real big-time quarterbacks now. And to beat these guys, you have to affect the quarterback. We always say that in drafts, like, hey, I want a franchise quarterback, and then I want to draft 11 guys that are going to affect the other team's quarterback. And that's pass rushers. That's corners. So to me, the Bills should be able. I would load up on defense if I was the Bills.
It's interesting you said that. I thought you might bring up affecting the quarterback. And one of the things that's become kind of an interesting football theory discussion as of late is that which part of defensive affecting the quarterback correlates more strongly to negative plays from the opposing offense? Is it pass rush or is it coverage? Historically, the old adage was always that it's pass rush. However, with the rise of analytics, things have started to kind of shift a little bit. Now it's a lot closer to being 50-50 on modern football opinions as to which correlates more significantly with affecting the quarterback in a negative way. Where do you fall on that? If you have similar grades and similar needs on pass rusher and a defensive player who's going to be able to be in coverage, where do you fall on that spectrum?
And I love that question. And it's a great debate that my friends that we still talk about all the time. But to me, if the guy can rush the quarterback, I think that overtakes anything. I just think the rules are set up. It's so hard to play corner that, to me, if it's equal, if you have a pass rusher and a corner who are equal, I think I'd go pass rusher, all things being equal. Now, if you feel like that corner is significantly better than the rusher that's on the board when you're picking at 30, then you take the corner and you're good. Either way, you're making your team better as long as you feel like those guys are upgrades for your team. But I'm always going pass rush. I think you guys are diehards. I mean, you see what happens to these quarterbacks. They all become the same when they start getting pressure.
Do you think, as a follow-up to that, do you think that when you look at the Super Bowl and you compare that and contrast that with the AFC Championship game, do you think there's a lesson to be learned there about good quarterbacks under pressure? Or do you think, hey, it's just one game, we really can't take one game and blow it out of proportion, even if it is the Super Bowl? Do you think you can look at that and go, hey, look what worked against Patrick Mahomes, we want to do that same thing against Patrick Mahomes, let's go get a pass rusher? Is it really that simple?
Well, it's funny. It's really funny how the NFL is, but that Super Bowl now has made everybody say you have to have an offensive line, you have to protect your quarterback. And the Kansas City Chiefs had a good offensive line. They had some injuries. There's a lot of teams that if they lost their tackles, wouldn't have been able to protect their quarterback. And the Chiefs, I think, have done a great job of already rebuilding that offensive line. I love Brett Veach. I mean, we talk about GMs. Like, I like to talk about GMs. I know we talk about coaches and quarterbacks a lot in the media, but Brett Veach, pay attention to what he's doing. He is calculated. Andy Reid has handpicked him from a long time ago in Philadelphia. I promise you that. I've known Brett for a long time. He is so detailed and so into the future that, okay, they had injuries, and a lot of teams would have struggled in that Super Bowl with those injuries. Tampa was healthy. Tampa got, really, they were lucky to be in the Super Bowl. They should have they should have lost it. You throw 3 picks in the second half like Brady did against any other team, you usually lose. But they got there. That was their like, okay, we got one, this one we weren't supposed to win, but we did. And now you're facing a Chiefs team that's not healthy. But so the whole league now is all, well, we got to have an offense line. It's always been that way. You always want to protect your quarterback. Injuries are hard. Depth is hard to build. So I know I went on a little tangent there because I really, really am just amazed how it's like the emphasis has been on protecting the quarterback. It's always about protecting the quarterback. But you better build to attack the other team's quarterback. I really believe that. And I think these guys are so good and the rules are so set up for offense now that you better find ways to get to that quarterback.
Do you think Brett Veach doesn't get as much shine as he probably should because everyone assumes it's the Andy Reid show? I mean, you had the same thing with Dorson. Same thing with Dorsey. He went to Cleveland afterwards done, and then he got the shine. Everyone's like, whoa, wait, hold on. Maybe it was actually Andy Reid. And so now maybe you think people are sleeping a little bit on Brett Veach because they just assume it's Andy Reid?
I think the people in the business know Brett Veach has a lot to do with what's going on in Kansas City. The big thing that happened with Dorsey and Andy Reid was Dorsey didn't pay enough attention to detail. This is from sources I know, to all the little things. And Andy Reid is all about detail. And Brett Veach has that. He was seeing the future. I know he was pushing Mahomes and gets credit for that. But John Dorsey, what a success. I mean, he's everywhere he's been, he's had success. It's crazy to think he's not, I don't even know where he is right now. I thought he was in Philly for a second, but to your point, Bruce, it's really a good point. Brett Veach doesn't care about the credit. He doesn't. That's not Brett. I know Brett. He cares about the wins, the Super Bowl rings. And when you're a GM, that's what you want. You really don't want to be in the media. That's for the coach. I was always a believer, let the players get all the fucking credit. Sorry about that word. But I'm a heavy player. Like, I'm just player heavy, and they deserve the credit, and they should be in front and center. And GMs, take a step back, get those checks, get those rings, but let the players get the credit.
So on a related note to that, we were talking about affecting the quarterback, and you were talking about pass rush and how you prioritize that over coverage. One of the things I think is interesting is we've been talking a little bit about this as a community, as Bills Mafia community this offseason, is this concept of units. And it was all kind of spurned from a tweet that was given by Daniel Jeremiah about how defensive game planners will attack your weak link on your offensive line. And so it's almost as important to have your worst guy be okay than it is to have your best guy be great. And I think that's interesting because it kind of spurred a lot of conversations on units. First off, just your thoughts on that idea, that concept that it's more important to have your worst guy be okay, and the whole chain link, theory that goes into that. And also, does that apply to the defensive backfield and the pass rush as well? Like, if you have a defensive lineman and one of them is just woefully inadequate, does that have the same effect as having an offensive lineman be woefully inadequate? If you have a corner who simply can't turn and run, is that going to anchor your defensive secondary the same way? As the concept of units kind of came up, and as we started to kind of compare and contrast taking a pass rusher to taking a corner to taking an interior offensive lineman, all of these kind of ideas started conflicting, and I just wanted your take on it.
No, I love that question, Bruce. It's because you're right. But this is what every defensive coach does, right? Okay, the right tackle is weaker than the left tackle. So, okay, what do the Bears do? They might move Khalil Mack, so he's rushing against the right tackle more than he is against a left tackle who might be pretty good. That's obvious, right? I think that the Bears, the teams that the Bears play, they know that. They're like, hey, they're probably going to use Mack against our worst tackle. But it goes the other way. And the only reason I'm telling you this too, and you kind of answered it, Bruce, with the secondary, is Sean Payton, when I was a scout for the Saints and really learned a lot about football with the Saints more than any place I've ever been. Sean Payton, we used to talk about, in the draft boards, and we're going through, safeties or corners who are 5'10". Sean Payton's like, yeah, let another team take that guy. That's going to be our target. So that's when I paid attention. I was like, wow, it is a total, it's almost just like basketball where you're just trying to mismatch it. Hey, get the pick, make the picks. Let's get the mismatch we want, and then let's get the ball to that guy. And football has become that, where these coaches are honestly game planning to get the matchup they want. So it goes both ways, though. So to your point, is your right tackle, whoever your weakest lineman is, Bruce, to your point, can you cover him up? Can you help him? Because you already know the defense is going to attack him. And if you're on offense, you need to pay attention when certain guys are out and certain, if they're in nickel and dime, who's the weak link? And let's go after him.
Thanks a lot, Jim. I appreciate your time.
Hey, Bruce, thank you for hanging with me tonight, man. If you can, real quick, I know everybody in here should already know, but if you can really quickly, let everybody know where they can find your content and when your show is, when it's released.
Well, thanks so much for letting me be part of this, Spence. I appreciate that. Jim, thanks so much for doing this and being a part of this. My name is Bruce Nolan. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Bruce Exclusive. My show, The Bruce Exclusive, drops every Thursday and Friday on the Buffalo Rumblings podcast network.
Thank you so much, Bruce. You already know you're my guy. I appreciate you, man. So I'm sure I'll be chatting it up with you in the chat next. So we got my main man coming in next. I told you this thing is going to keep going, man. This is a cross network event. Buffalo is showing y'all how to do it in every other market, man, because we got the best content creators. We have the best. We just got the best, damn it, period. I got my man, Steros for the girls. My man coming in from cover one. What up, Steros?
Hey, what's good? What's good? Jim, loving that beanie, bruh.
Hey, man, I always rock it. I don't have TV hair, so I got to put the beanie on. I'm bald.
TV hair?
I don't have TV hair. I don't have that style like you guys. I got to go with the beanie.
I got called Rick Ross earlier, so,
I see it.
What?
But here's the thing.
Swear.
I like that you called it a beanie. We grew up calling it Scullies.
I call it a Scully.
Scully?
Yeah, he's from Denver, though. Where are you from, sir?
No, I'm from Tennessee. We call them toboggans in the South.
Ooh.
Toboggans.
Ain't that like
like
chewing
it.
tobacco or something like that?
It's Southern.
No, that's
Everything's twanging.
Copenhagen. I'm tripping. Don't go off on me, Peter. All right, Sterles,
We
what's
got
up,
me
man?
down
We
there,
got a couple.
spitting
I
in a
know,
cup.
I know,
Oh,
like,
shit.
but listen, we got some questions from my man Jim, man. What's going on, Sterles?
Hey, so Jim, what's up, man? I'm representing Cover One. Greg was supposed to be here, so he gave me his
Yeah.
questions to ask. He says
Definitely.
every front office has their set requirements of size, speed, traits, measurements, etc. What is an example where you broke from your draft rules or guidelines and maybe archetypes and regretted it?
Every guy that runs a draft, you have your height, weight, speed measurements, like you brought up, but you also have to not stray from what you believe character-wise. And it's hard. It's tempting, when you get a guy, like we took Carlos Williams in the 5th round, and we knew it was a high risk. We took Chantrell Henderson in the 7th round. It was a high risk. And I look back on those, and I think they were worthwhile picks. I really do. Carlos Williams was on the verge of being Rookie of the Year. Chantrell Henderson started games at right tackle as a rookie and was locking down some of the top pass rushers in our division. And I remember during their rookie years thinking, no, this is okay in the 5th, 6th, 7th round to take chances on guys that you might break away from normally. That obviously, if they had higher character, they would have been drafted higher. Now, the height, weight, speed thing is interesting. We took Nick O'Leary in the 6th round the one year, the tight end from Florida State.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he was slow, average athlete, great hands, great production, tough, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, he didn't have the measurements. In New Orleans, Jimmy Graham, when I was scouting Jimmy Graham, we took him in the 3rd round, but his tape didn't show 3rd round. But Coach Payton watched that tape, and I was the scout for Jimmy, and we were lucky enough where Coach Payton said, look, I can get this guy to do whatever we need to do. And that's where you learn as a scout where, hey, okay, the tape wasn't great on Jimmy Graham in college. It wasn't. He had drops. He looked like a robot running routes, like he was counting his steps. But man, he hadn't played football. He was just learning, and you have to get. And Coach Payton saw that and said, "No, he can do it. We just got to keep working with him." And that's where you just really have to have the right leader, the right scouts, and the right the overview and the foreseeing what they can do. Have a vision for those guys. Coach Payton always talked about, I have a vision for him, and that always woke me up. So I look back on that with Jimmy Graham and think, okay, he had a vision for a stud athlete, off the charts size and speed and athleticism, but his tape wasn't great. Well, here we are in Buffalo. We took Nick O'Leary, where his tape was great, where he dominated college football. But at the end of the day, he was just a product of the system who could catch a football. And he wasn't gonna scare any defensive coordinator.
Yeah. So how do you you mentioned Jimmy Graham, that's a very high upside kind of guy.
Mhm.
Josh Allen is a very high upside kind of guy. Where do you draw the line or delineation between high upside and then intangibles like character and those things? Because I think, is it true, every coach thinks that they can take just about anybody, right, and just turn them into whatever they want them to be. What in your time in Buffalo or even New Orleans, what was there a balance there, or where did you guys typically side?
No, it's a great question, because the high upside thing can get you fired quick. If you're taking guys that have high upside, but you better know a lot about their makeup to know if they're going to max out their talent. And Jimmy Graham had a drive and was, he wanted to be a great player. So you knew he was going to work to get better. Some of these guys, they can go run a 40 and jump, but they might not have that heart that it takes in the trenches, and on game day to separate themselves and really max out their talent. So that's where scouts really come into play, where scouts will tell you, they'll tell the GM and director, they'll tell the guy setting the draft, like, look, this guy's, you're going to get everything out of this guy. Matt Milano was a good example, where I can tell you for a fact that I pushed him hard on Coach Payton. I'm sorry, on Sean McDermott. And I remember sitting in Sean's office in the morning of day 3 of the draft, watching Milano. And our scouts were lukewarm on Milano because he was a safety, BC linebacker. What is he? But when you looked at his workout, his numbers were off the charts for a linebacker. Now, could he handle, the running and the run game when it comes at him? But McDermott, Sean did a good job of watching him. We watched him together, and Sean saw it and had a vision for him right away. Hey, this is a guy I can work with. And that's when when the coach sees it, and as a scout, you're like, okay, this guy's going to succeed. And it's really, that makes me happy to see Milano make it.
Wow. Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
His other question was, what is an example where that same risk or break from process paid off, and how would you know when and when not to in the future?
I think the other thing, when you're having philosophies, I look at the one thing I definitely learned a lot about was trading up for a player. If he's not a franchise quarterback, you probably shouldn't trade up for a guy. And I say probably shouldn't, because obviously there might be some exceptions. But when we traded up for Sammy Watkins, he should have been hands down the best receiver in that draft class. And he was not hands down. And we had arguments about that, going into it. But he was a guy that we all felt good about. So we traded up for him. But talent-wise, Beckham, Mike Evans, those guys were as good as Sammy, obviously maybe better. With the Saints, we traded back into the first round one year to take Mark Ingram at running back because we thought this was our window, to win a Super Bowl. We had just to get back to the Super Bowl and run the ball. And so I just look at so many things, but if you're not trading up for a guy who you think is by far the best at his position, especially if he's the best at his position that's left in the draft, because it could be second round, it could be third round. We did it with Reggie Ragland at linebacker, where he fit Rex Ryan's system so perfectly.
Right.
And Rex, that everybody wanted him. So we went up and took him. Well, he gets hurt. Rex gets fired. McDermott doesn't want him. And Reggie's bouncing around now. And that goes to show you, like, could Reggie Ragland have a different career if Rex Ryan was his coach? Probably. But it just goes to show you, I think trading up is I would definitely be very cautious to trade up unless it was for a franchise quarterback.
Wow. Okay. So you mentioned earlier, I was kind of backstage listening about, matchups, right? And, and you were saying that now that you have a franchise quarterback, you build the defense. So I look at teams like the Rams, who don't believe in first round picks. They believe in going and getting proven talent and ability, right? We saw Brandon Beane take a shot with Stephon Diggs. So we're looking, right now, this week, Bills at 30. I mean, there's lots of people out there who think the Bills are maybe a player or two away from doing a Super Bowl run. In your opinion, looking at this Bills team, how would you look at swinging for the fence for a high impact player, or would you just be safe and stick at 30?
No, I love that question too, because we're not there in their draft room, so we don't know what their draft board is.
But of all people, you are like the closest they were going to get to their draft room.
Okay, and so I guess what I would say was, when their pick is coming, so they're at 20, pick 28's coming, and they might have a guy, they.
Well, it looked like we may have lost Jim for a quick second there. So I'm sure I'm going to get him back. When Jim comes back, it looks like he probably just got a call or something. That's normally what happens. So Sterles, I'm gonna have him finish that. But
yeah,
why don't you give everybody a chance to let everybody know where they can find your content? Again, thank you for coming on. I appreciate you guys over at Cover One. Shout out to my guy. What am I talking about? Shout out to my guy Greg over there too. Let everybody know what's up, man.
Yeah, man. At Furrow Sterling is my Twitter handle. You can find me there. You get, like you said, I'm with the Cover One Network guys. Our live show is on Tuesday night on YouTube, and then we have a podcast that drops on Friday. So, we've been killing it for the draft. I mean, hey, this is what we do, man. So we've been killing and chopping up these players.
Oh yeah, you already know it goes down like that. Cover One, Buffalo Rumblings. We got Buffalo Fanatics joining us later. My man Dave with Built in Buffalo is in the chat. We got people from there's so many. Who am I missing already? Because I always stop. So I'm not gonna stop. I'm gonna keep going. Let's name a couple of them off, because it's some good.
Oh, there he is.
It's some good talent. Yeah, he's back.
I'm sorry, fellas. I'm sorry.
It's all good. It's all good. But before I let you go, Sterles, let's shout a couple people out real quick, because not Anthony asking if he's chopped liver. No, you're not chopped liver, Anthony. We're shouting out like actual, like Sorry, my dogs are having fun too. But like I said, Buffalo Fanatics, Buffalo Rumblings, Cover One, Built in Buffalo. Who am I missing, man? We had the Cold Front Report guys.
Oh yeah.
We got it's so many networks.
So many of us
and I
out
feel
there,
like
man.
I feel like I miss them. So before we let you go, Jim, why don't we give Jim an opportunity to finish your the questionnaire?
I feel bad. Sorry about that, fellas. The whole thing went out. I was just saying the Bills draft, you don't need to stray when you're picking 30, unless there's somebody that you have rated as a top 10, 12 guy that's still sitting there at 25. You don't need to go up. Just stay at 30. Take the best player. They have proven to me and everybody really. The Bills have proven they know the talent. They know what they want. Bean and McDermott know what they want. I would stick at 30 unless there's a guy that they just think, obviously if you see the Bills go up on Thursday night for a guy, obviously they have that guy rated pretty high.
Okay, man. I appreciate your time, Jim. For real. You're a real one for that.
You guys are awesome. I appreciate you guys.
Steros, appreciate you, man. All right, now we're gonna bring in my partner in crime. We're gonna extend him out a little bit because we went over it a sad bit because of some technical difficulties. But we got my brother from another mother, my man Joe Buttery Smooth Voice Miller, joining me tonight. What's up, man?
Hey guys, what's going on? Let me just first say thanks for not making me follow Bruce.
Those questions, man.
I'm just a fan.
Like, dude, those questions.
To that point,
hey,
Jim,
I've been on a lot of podcasts lately. You guys, man, your guys' questions are legit. You guys are true football guys. No, you guys are real football guys.
Yeah,
you see,
go ahead.
When I was gonna say, you see why I wanted to do it this way. I feel like we have, like, as a market, I think Buffalo is an amazing city with content creators, and I feel like a lot of times we tend to kind of be pit against each other for whatever reasons, but there's no need for it, man. We all are smart, and there's things that each network does that has its niche, and if we all work together, we have like probably the dopest network. Not joining together like that, but I'm saying we'll have the dopest city as far as content creators out of anywhere. Let's do this. So I'm sorry for having that little rant there, but I mean, I really believe that.
Yeah,
So,
dude.
but yeah, Joe, Jim, Joe.
What's up, sir? So it's interesting to me because I started this out by saying that I'm just a fan. I'm just a fan, and this is where I'm gonna start, Jim. Thank you. Bills Mafia and this city and this fan base is unlike any other one in the country. I don't care what anybody says. I've lived in a lot of places. And I just want to say on behalf of all of Bills Mafia, you're Bills Mafia for life. Thank you for the memories. Thank you for the players you drafted. Thank you for the wins. Thank you for the hard times, the good times, all of it. Thank you. If nobody ever said thank you before, I'm telling you thank you.
That's crazy, Joe. I appreciate that. And it's crazy to hear that because, when I first started this whole thing and getting that podcast with Tyler Dunn, and I was thinking everybody was going to hate me because I was about to tell everybody why we didn't take Patrick Mahomes.
Right. And
I just felt like, man, they're going to hate me. But it's kind of going the other way. And I just wanted the fans to know what went down. Hey, I take responsibility. Doug Willie, we all take responsibility. McDermott does. But I just wanted people to know you guys are hardcore fans and you deserve to know what's going on inside and why decisions were made. Because you guys sit here and talk about it all the time. But it's good for you guys to actually know, who really had the say and who did what. And it is a cool network. And this whole the Bills Mafia podcast network and everything, it's all over. It's so good. You guys are all good and diehard fans. And you guys say you're fans, but you really are knowledgeable. So it's cool to talk.
I appreciate that. So I'm one of the older fans, and my show is called the Overreaction Podcast, and I don't do a whole lot of overreacting, but it is definitely a fan-based podcast. And being 47, being a season ticket holder since 1997, the tickets have been in my family since 77. I grew up my whole life being told that Buffalo wasn't a big enough market, that we didn't have it. And I went to school for marketing. So I know that Buffalo itself, if from a metropolitan statistical area standpoint, is one inside the top 15 of the nation. If you draw a 100-mile radius around Buffalo, it's in the top 15 most populated areas density wise in the country. So I knew that was bunk. So I felt there was always a propaganda war against Buffalo when Ralph was aging, right? So, but when you wrap all that up into a ball and the fear of us losing our football team, You know, a career in the NFL is clearly volatile enough. It's a carousel of transition. And there was a feeling at the top of at the top of the franchise that it was sort of a drift for a while, right? When Ralph was older, when he passed, when Mary took it over, and Brandon was kind of in charge. What I want to know from you, inside of that, the walls at One Bills Drive, what was the immediate culture change, the emotions in the building when you heard the Pegulas bought the Bills and vowed to keep the team in Buffalo, and stability was now our future, and the commitment and the financial commitment that they had to this team? What was that day? Because people were crying on the radio. Like Bills Mafia was on the radio crying. Like, and I was one of them. Like, how are you guys inside those walls?
We were, it was tense because obviously we were tight with Russ Brandon, and he was the only one that really knew what was going on. And he would obviously keep Doug Whaley and myself, up to date with everything. But it was between Donald Trump and Terry Pegula. And if Trump got the team, he was out. We were out. It was LA. It was going to be Toronto. It was going to be something that he had planned big. And for everybody that doesn't like Russ Brandon, this is where you need to at least, give a little respect to Russ as a businessman and a guy that was fighting. He was the only one in the trenches on these meetings, to who was going to buy the team. And the Pegulas, he came to us and said, they love Buffalo. They want this to work here. And man, I think the rest is history. Terry and Kim are just, I'll never say a bad word about them. What they did for us was incredible. They gave us a chance. But yes, to your question, when they bought the team, we were all like, let's do this. Let's get this right. And that's why we had a mindset that, and we knew it, but we knew we needed to go get a quarterback, and things didn't line up for us when we were there. We were talking about trading everything, going up for Carson Wentz, the one draft. We wanted to do it, mortgage the future. But after talking with Rex and everybody, we kind of backed off on that, and we just never got that quarterback. And I think I've said this before on our podcast, but as great a job as Bean has done and McDermott, if Josh Allen didn't take that step this year, we're questioning a lot of things that they've done. As far as their draft picks, and it just goes to show you guys, a quarterback is just it. So anyway, to your point, yes, we were celebrating like crazy.
That's awesome.
When the Pegulas got the team, and they took us in and made us feel like, hey, we want you guys, let's do this. And it made us feel good, and it was great. We gave it a great run.
Yeah, that's awesome. And for me, there was a great deal of the years leading up to Ralph's passing. And obviously Ralph is a legend in this town and will always be a big part of who we are as a city and making Buffalo what it is. And this team will obviously they've erected a statue in front of the stadium in his honor, but the Pegulas were kind of an outlier. Like, I'll be honest with you. I spent 5, 6, 7, 8 years, the conversations where there's no billionaires in Buffalo. Jeremy Jacobs, and he owns the Bruins, and because of the rules, if he buys the Bills, he has to sell the Bruins, so that's never going to happen. And it was a foregone conclusion. How acutely aware were you guys that the Pegulas were going to come in and just crush it?
Never knew the name.
Right.
Totally was. This was for me, it was a total new experience, and to see them come in, and you wouldn't know they had billions of dollars. Like they acted just like we act. It was unbelievable. And they put themselves, they hang with everybody. They don't act like they're billionaires. They don't act like that you can't talk to them or approach them. They want to be talked to. And like I said, they're who you want running your team. They really are.
Right. My last question, and this is not only is it an honor to be on the show with Jay Spence, who's one of my best friends, but to be on here with like the lineup and you, Jim, is incredible. So thank you for being available. I had Reed Ferguson on my show last night. And he even said it, like he doesn't understand why like players and like personalities don't make themselves more available. It's incredible the connection that technology gives us. But I want to dip a little further into the emotion a little bit with you. And I want to ask you, because I couldn't imagine, like, can you talk about the wave of emotion between the day, like that last day, the last day of the draft, right? You guys draft, you finish up that draft. It's McDermott's first year. And then the surprise of a lifetime is I listened to Doug Whaley kind of tell the story like, oh no, it was a normal meeting. We were called to the stadium. It was completely normal. What was the wave of emotion like being let go immediately following the morning of the 2017 draft?
You know, it's one of those, nothing can surprise you in the NFL.
Mm.
And maybe in business in general, and I'm sure everybody deals with it. You have bosses and you never know exactly, but that was tough. That was tough. I mean, yeah, I've told this story too, but Doug and I, we would ride to work together. We both lived downtown, in Buffalo, and we would drive to Orchard Park together. And we were driving in that morning. We pulled up, and we were just going to meet with our scouts, and it was early in the morning, but we were just going to have a good meeting, get them out of the building, get them home to their families. And we pull up, and we saw the Pagulas, the car, and it was like 7 a.m. We're like, wait a second.
Mm-hmm.
What are they doing here? Doug and I both looked at each other. I always say it was like a dead man walking. We got out of the car like, damn, like we're about to get. So we walk into the building, right? We split off. I go into the draft room. All the scouts were sitting in there like, what's going on? Doug goes, I get a text from Doug about 3 minutes later. Like, we're cut. We're out. I was like, man. So it was one of those, like, it's a gut punch for sure, especially because I've known Sean. I got Sean McDermott the interview. We were part of the interviewing process. And, I worked with Sean in Philly when we both first started, and just really thought I was really proud to see. I was proud of his interview, and Doug and I were, and the Pagulas, we all were together on hiring Sean. Like, it was, Anthony Lynn was second choice. But we went with Sean. We all felt good about Sean, and man, he's proven us right. And I think that part of it makes me feel okay that, hey, I was a part of at least hiring a really good head coach. Yeah, I'd like to still be working, but hey, that's how it works. And Sean had to do what he had to do. He has to get his guy in, and that's how it works.
Appreciate that. I think that's my time there, J. Spence.
Yeah, I appreciate you being so candid, Jim. Like, honestly, like, you're just open. You're open book, man. This is awesome.
I mean, yeah, man, you guys deserve to hear it. You guys put out so much good feedback and support for the Bills that you should at least hear some of the stuff that goes on. So,
yeah. So, again, just thank you for on the small side. And I know this sounds weird on the small side for hiring and getting Sean McDermott that interview. On the big side, thank you for everything you did for the Bills. Like, thank you for Bills Mafia for life, bro.
I appreciate that, guys. I never thought it'd be like this, and I root for them too now. So it's great. I never thought I'd be rooting for the Bills after they fired me. Coming back and getting involved like this and talking to you guys makes me feel better about things. Really,
sure.
You guys are true fans and understand it's a business. And yeah, we had some mess ups. We did some good things too.
You guys killed it. Thanks for the memories. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Joe. That's awesome.
Hey, Joe, real quick before I let you go, man, let everybody know where they can find you and when your content is released.
So I am the voice of the Overreaction podcast right here on the Buffalo Rumblings podcast network. My show airs live every Sunday night on YouTube at 9:00 and then drops as a podcast in podcast form. You can find it right now. My show last night with Reed Ferguson, long snapper of the Buffalo Bills, brand new father, #girl dad is the best dad. Father Reed Ferguson, starting a podcast with his brother Blake Ferguson, long snapper for the Dolphins. That is a podcast that's going to drop for the very first time this Thursday. So you're going to want to check that out. I had a great conversation with Reed. Reed is awesome and candid and wonderful. And then this Friday, the return of Off Tackle with John Fina show with myself and John Fina this Friday, 9:00. We're going to cover the Bills' first, hopefully 3 picks, and then the rest of the draft. But other than that, it's just, as Bruce said, an honor and a pleasure just to be a part of this thing. So thank you.
Hey, and y'all get to see me and Joe do our thing again on Wednesday. For the Hump Day Hotline. Let's get it. Love you, Joe. Talk to you a little bit, man. All right. So now we got the final guest of the evening, because like I said, we're gonna keep this thing going. We got content. We got the best content creators, Bills
guys
fans,
really
Bills
have
Mafia.
Great questions.
We got
great questions.
Jim, listen, I know everybody has said it 15 times. Man, I appreciate this, man. This is really cool. Like, this is awesome.
I want to know who you guys want the Bills to draft at 30.
Well, I was actually going to tell you that after. So we're going to bring Dave Tilton Money in. We can actually ask him that too. We can have him part of this conversation. But towards the end, I was actually going to ask you a question about how you see this going and kind of where
Okay.
my hope as a fan is, and then what my logic tells me. So we're going to bring my man, Dave Tilt Money from the Buffalo Fanatics Podcast Network. What up, Tilt Money?
What's up, Spence? Hey, man, thanks so much for having me. And Jim, thank you for staying on. I'm the last one here, so appreciate the patience there.
Definitely.
I know you chatted with Rico the other day, so hopefully I'm representing Buffalo Fanatics well. And Spence, thanks for asking me to be part of this, man. I really appreciate that.
Man, you one of those minds that, you know, like you, Bruce, Joe, you know, like you guys, like if I get Greg, and I know I had Sterling take his place, the same thing. Sterling, if I had to mind like you guys, man, I wouldn't need you, but you know, I'm glad you're my friend. You know what I mean? I'm glad you're my friend and I can call on you. But we go here. I'm acting the fool tonight, man.
I know that's
I love you, man.
I get where you're coming from. I get where you're coming from. That's cool, man.
All right, so let's go. So Jim, Tilt, Jim, let's get it, man.
So Jim, I'm going to get right into it. I want to ask about the draft, right? Because the history, obviously, the last 20 years before the Bills made the playoffs in 2017, the draft was kind of like the Bills off-season Super Bowl, right? It was like renewed hope. We were like all into the draft, and we still are, but like the draft was always that part of the year where we were like, you know, usually didn't make, you know, big, huge free agent signings because of the stigma. And so the draft was kind of where we had to go to try to find the next stars for this team. Now that the Bills have got Josh Allen, the quarterback situation settled, my question to you now is, how much do the Bills really go into the draft planning, you know, towing that line and finding the balance between planning for the future of the team post a lot of these one-year contracts they brought guys in on, like Sanders and Breida, versus going all in this, you know, Super Bowl window they're really in right now with Josh Allen on a rookie contract? And, you know, is this the year that we might finally see a trade down from Brandon Beane because he hasn't done it in previous drafts with the Bills? Or do we expect him to kind of continue that aggression of sort of trading up like he's done in the past few years, knowing that it's maybe not so likely that 7 draft picks make this roster at the end of this draft?
Well, I don't think the Bills got to remember Sean McDermott has final say on everything. He's calling the shots. As much as Beane is definitely setting the board, Sean is calling the shots. And the number one thing Sean McDermott talked about when we interviewed him was sustained success. You know, let's not get crazy. Now the window, now that you have your quarterback, finally, the window is officially open, to your point. And you need to figure this out here in the next 4 to 5 years. They need to get to the Super Bowl. This is their window. And windows don't use, the only reason I use that 4 to 5 years is I was in Philly, I was in New Orleans. We had those windows, and that's about the time frame where they open and close. And the Bills has officially opened. So to me, I don't think they should mortgage the future. I don't think that's their mindset. This is just how I feel like Sean will be. Now, if they want to go up and get somebody and at their price and it doesn't mortgage the future, that's one thing. But I think they're fine. I think they're in a very good spot right now, and I don't think they're panicking for anything. And I said this earlier, if they go up for a guy, it's because they just really value him. But I really don't think they're going to mortgage the future for anybody at this point. I see them being very patient, calculated. I thought they did a great job in free agency. I didn't think they overspent. I thought they laid back and even got some guys at good value like Sanders. I just really think they're doing things the right way. And to me, don't mortgage. I don't think they need to go crazy in this draft. I think when you're picking 30, get used to it. It's not fun for the fans. It's not fun for you, you know, but when I was with the Saints, I promise you, you know, you still know you can get good players at that pick.
Can I ask you a question real quick to jump in? Sorry, Dave, because I
want
to give you all your time, but I just want to follow up because you mentioned about a window. And we had a recent debate recently with a couple of the content creators within the network who, you know, I tend to believe even if you have a great quarterback, you can have, you know, for instance, we saw Peyton Manning, you know, play for however long. He won 1 Super Bowl in Indiana. He, you know, and it was, the reason was because even though he was great, there's a window when you have talent on both sides of the ball or all 3 phases of the ball. So when you say window, can you just explain just a little bit so that way, because I feel like you're gonna explain what I was trying to say a whole lot better than I can explain it.
Best way I can explain it was in Philly. So our window opened in like 2001 or 2, I believe, when McNabb really just took fire. Okay, we go to the NFC Championship every year, lose, finally make the Super Bowl, lose. But that was like a 4 or 5 year window. I get to New Orleans. We get to the NFC Championship in 2006, which nobody thought we would, but we got Breeze and things just struck right. But from 6 to about 2011, that 5 years was really our true window where we knew there were years where we're good enough to win it. And it was still that hard. We won 1 Super Bowl with Drew Brees. The Philadelphia Eagles didn't win any with McNabb. So to your point, it's that hard. And it's going to be hard for the Bills just to get back to the AFC Championship. I think people need to understand it's that hard to win. And are you going to put up the same numbers offensively that you did last year? That's going to be tough because guess what every team's doing right now? They are preparing to defend the Bills offense because now they're finally on the map. And that's why good defense, that's why I say just keep building that defense because that's going to keep you in every game and the quarterback will take you over the top. But that's my window theory is I saw it in Philly, I saw it in New Orleans, and you really do have like a 4 or 5 year shot where you know it, and then all of a sudden you're like, shit, we didn't do it.
Yeah.
Then we got to revamp this thing a little bit.
Okay. Sorry about that, Dave. Go for it, man.
No, I mean, it's a good point. I mean, I liken it to the window, the fact that the Bills can invest on that defense now while Josh is still on that rookie deal. It seems like that's a sub window, if you will, of this broader window the Bills might have. And I was going to talk about the pick at 30, but I'll save that till the end because I know we're going to talk about that. So my next question for you, Jim, is more of a broader question about the NFL in general today and about how the shelf life or the expectation for head coaches in the league to win immediately, win right away, seems to have created a situation where maybe guys don't get as long as they really need to kind of build up their teams to where it's sustainable, right? And we saw the Bills with McDermott that first year. They made it into the playoffs, so he kind of built up that equity right away and gave himself, some time. Either way, they preached patience and so forth. But my question to you is there are 7 new coaches, 7 new head coaches in the NFL this year. Some of them are kind of retread, former coordinators. Some of them are brand new to the scene. In your mind, sort of which head coach in 2021 is set up best organizationally, personnel, in the draft, maybe, to have the most immediate success, and which coach maybe on the other side of it is probably in a situation where they're already fighting an uphill battle?
I think the Chargers and the Falcons I'm gonna pay attention to both those teams. Chargers have talent, and I love Anthony Lynn as a man and as a football coach, and that I know it's well documented. He blew some games at the end, with time management and things like that. But that team has talent. I think they're ready to win. I think they got the quarterback. That guy looks like he is just gonna. I mean, he looks off the charts to me. The NFL missed on him. I mean, he looks good. And then I think Atlanta, and they're in a good situation where they blew. I forget. I saw the stat. I want to say they were within 1 score. It's a crazy number of games that they lost last year within 1 score that they blew leads, and that tells you they were a good football team. Didn't get it done. Is it Matt Ryan? Is it time to move on? But that team has talent. They have an offensive line. They have a receiving core. They have good players on defense. They have a new coaching staff, a new GM who I personally know, Terry Fontenot from the Saints, and I know Terry, and he's going to do a great job. So those 2 teams I'm paying attention to, Atlanta and the Chargers. As far as guys that are going to be, Urban Meyer, we got to watch that one. I can't wait. That's the number 1 story to me. I want to see. I'm not a huge Urban Meyer fan. I dealt with him a lot as a scout. Just when I say I'm not a fan, I have a lot of respect for him. Obviously, everywhere he goes, he wins titles, and then programs get destroyed. They get caught, and he gets out of town. What's he want to do now? Oh, I'll come to the NFL. Why? I have the first pick. Trevor Lawrence. Let me take my shot. And I don't know. That's whatever. That I want to watch that. I just want to see it. I don't think it's that easy. I don't think it's just, hey, I'm Urban and we take Trevor and we're gonna win. I want to see how Jacksonville really does.
Some guys have to fall on their ass before they, and I'm not saying he's going to, no, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying
No,
he
I'm
is,
with you. Like,
but
you think,
some
yeah,
guys have like a
Yeah.
confidence that they can just kind of walk into any arena and
yeah.
be like, all right, I'm the guy and I'm going to do it. It's interesting to see. I'm very interested to see what happens down there.
And I got to put, like I said, I respect him. Like, hey, in college football, the name of the great game is recruiting, and that's what he knew how to do. And he had his system in place and plug and play these. I mean, he was putting first round picks out at Ohio State and Florida like it was crazy. So, but now you're not recruiting. So let me see how you draft. Let me see how you evaluate.
Well, so let's change the topic here real quick. Let's switch gears and talk a little bit about the draft, because you are one of the things that you're very good at, which is the reason why I wanted to have you on the show, is that I think that your coverage about draft prospects, about how teams kind of, like you mentioned something about Atlanta earlier, about somebody that you felt like they could look at, and I thought it was pretty good. So I sent it to my Atlanta friend, and he was like, "Oh, this is so same thing." So kind of, what do you think the Bills might do at 30? Where are you thinking that we should go?
Well, I mean, to Jim's point, right, around making sure you can kind of take advantage of the window you're in now, but also not, mortgage the future or keep yourself in a sustainable situation. My viewpoint is I'd love to see the Bills go after a top end corner that they can pair with Trey White on a rookie contract while they're paying Trey White on this big deal. Get yourself another stud on the opposite side of him to slow down the teams like the Kansas Cities of the world and the up and coming teams as well, like the Chargers and the like. I think from a roster building standpoint, I'm not a GM, but I think it makes financial sense to have a potential stud corner on a rookie deal opposite of a guy that you're paying big money to as a top corner in the league. And I constantly find myself kind of coming back to Asante Samuel Jr. from Florida State, because one, I think he could be there at the pick 30. I think the other four corners we talk about a lot are likely to be gone before that pick, but he gives you flexibility into the future as well, right? He can come in and he can play on the outside from day one, opposite of Trey. If in 2022 the Bills decide that they can't or they're unable to retain the services of Taron Johnson in the nickel in the slot, you could potentially slide Samuel inside, depending on what you do in free agency or the draft the year after. It just gives yourself options for the future of the roster as well. You don't necessarily have to say like, oh, in 2022, I have to replace an outside corner or an inside corner. You can go for either and then kind of move Asante around to your liking, and he's still on that rookie deal. So for me, from what I see as kind of like an observer as how the team is stacked up right now, who they have on the roster, it seems like they're lacking some personnel at the corner position. They've talked about Dane Jackson and Levi Wallace battling it out maybe for that number 2 spot. It's thin there behind Trey White, right? And I know a lot of people want edge at 30, but there are a lot of bodies still in the room at edge on that Bills roster. They just drafted Epinesa. They still have Addison. You've got Hughes still on the roster. I know they will have to address edge at some point, and I'm not saying they shouldn't, because we obviously know they were in on J.J. Watt. But to me, pairing a stud rookie corner on a rookie deal opposite of Trey White against those offenses you're going to have to go against in the AFC all year, and getting to that Super Bowl and potentially having to defend the likes of the Packers and Tampa and whoever it may be, that's kind of where my heart's leaning right now when it comes to the draft for the Bills.
I completely agree with that. I think that is 100% dead on. Is if there's a corner, at least that they value, and there's nobody else that they have rated too much higher than the corner that they would take, I think corners are great. I think they've been skating by with some very average corners outside of Trey. Very average. Yeah. And I agree. I think it's time to get another one. If you don't have a pass rusher that you value or a playmaker on offense that you value. But yeah, I love that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it depends on what happens with the board, but that means a lot, Jim, for you to agree with me on that.
100% agree with that. I think you said that. So I've personally been, I don't think they've done, their corners have been average. I mean, that Josh Norman, that was desperation. He was shot in Washington. So that was desperation. So it tells you they're trying to find corners.
Well, I appreciate
Yeah,
that, and thanks, Spence. Yeah, thanks for letting me ask the question or talk about the draft because
That's
oh
awesome.
no,
that's what I love to do right now.
again, man,
I'm
like it's not my expertise, and I don't even like I don't do the mock drafts. I don't do all that stuff. So the guys who are good at it, well, no, but you know what, Jim? There are certain guys who do them who actually are like pretty darn close, and this guy Dave is one of them. So
I was just gonna
I'm
say,
like,
how do you do it? How do you do
yeah,
mock?
Well,
How?
this is I will tell you this. I don't. What
'Cause
I
I do think
typically
there are good mocks. I do. I don't want you to think I don't like. I do respect. I don't know how anybody does it. That's why I was
I,
like, it blows my mind away.
one thing that I always recommend to people if they're trying to kind of get into draft analysis, and like again, this is just me, my opinion. I like to look at players from each position that I think would fit with the Bills roster. And then I just look at the players from there. And then when it comes to the mock drafting, it's more about being familiar with the players that kind of you feel are, you know, around a certain grading or around a certain round that you believe they're there. It's not necessarily always sticking to like, it has to be this guy here, because then you kind of miss out potentially on reviewing some other guys that maybe you hadn't thought of. So when I approach mock drafts or even draft analysis, I always just start with the players. I don't even worry about like who's going to pick who. I'm just like, okay, well, like I'm going to start looking at corners and edge rushers because I think that's what the
That's what the
Bills
Bills
will
yep.
need. And then from there, I'll go from there where I end up thinking like the best value would be for them. And like, there's obviously so many combinations. I mean, I compared on another show, I said the mock drafting is like picking a March Madness bracket, right? You might get like the first 2 picks, right? Because it's like the number 1 seeds being the 16s.
Right.
But once you get out of that first like 2-3 seeds, like it's
like
it's a
that
total
comparison.
crapshoot, man. It's a
I
total
like that
crapshoot.
comparison.
So I don't get too caught up in worrying too much about what the mock drafts put out. They're fun to do. And it's more fun to just kind of figure out which guys like will fit with the Bills and kind of make that connection with like, oh, these are games the Bills have scouted. These are players the Bills have met with, and just trying to kind of connect some dots there. But that's really it. I mean, it's nothing too crazy.
Dave, man. Oh, go ahead, Jim. My bad.
I was just gonna say to your point, paying attention where guys go and scout and things like that. I mean, there was a weekend where I went and saw Temple play at Memphis. So I saw Dion Dawkins in Memphis. It was like a Thursday night, or I think it was a Thursday night. Then I flew to Boise or to Albuquerque, New Mexico after that. And we drafted this guy. He was hurt, but I still went and talked to Vallejo, the linebacker. He's still
Tanner,
playing. Yeah, Tanner Vallejo. And then went to the West Coast because we were playing out west, and met up with Whaley up in we were in LA for a game we watched too. But to your point is I was getting my eyes on, Dawkins was amazing. I'll never forget Memphis had good pregame music. Offensive linemen can't dance. But Dion Dawkins was out there in the pregame dancing. I'm like, wait a second. You don't see offensive linemen with that kind of like movement. And then you watch his passion and his toughness when he's playing. It's like, oh, that guy.
I love Dion.
I didn't know if he personally would be a great left tackle, but he's definitely proven to be a good one. So to your point, it is, if you pay attention to sometimes where guys are going and scouting and talking about things, you can figure it out.
Hey, Tilt, man, I appreciate you doing this with me. Like I said, I respect you tremendously, and I appreciate you, man. Why don't you let everybody know where they can find your content and when your show is airing?
Yeah, so I'm mostly on Twitter at @TillMoney. My handle's right there. My partner and I, Steve Mathis, we do our shows live every Mondays and Thursdays at 8 p.m. I was actually finishing up my live show and then hopped on here with Spence, so full night for me. Thursday, we'll be doing live coverage of the draft and Friday and Saturday as well. So you can find me on Twitter at @TiltMoney, and we'll have you covered for the draft at Buffalo Fanatics.
Hey, thank you so much, man. I'm gonna catch up with you after this is all over to show my appreciation a little bit more. But Jim, can I have you for about 5 more minutes? I've got like 2 more questions.
Good, man. Let's do it.
Okay. So the first one, this one is personal for me because as a content creator,
I don't know
and just as a Bills fan. Well, no, it's actually I think I've taken your side a lot more than a lot of people, and maybe not directly, but Doug Whaley has gotten a bad rep for a lot of things over the years. I am a Doug Whaley fan. Now, I'm not saying I think he was the greatest GM. I'm going to be honest, and he missed. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, I think he also found some good talent. You know what I mean? Like, to your point, Sammy should have been the best receiver in that draft. He wasn't, but it wasn't that. There was things that played into that factor. I think he missed on the most important position. If he would have drafted the best position, the best guy, he probably still would have been our GM right now. The difference is we got EJ. So now I said all that to come around to this question. EJ was a guy who a lot of Bills fans, including myself, had faith in. Like, we wanted it to work. We wanted it to happen. We obviously reached, right? But the thing is, I feel like before his knee injury, I thought EJ played well. Not great, but I thought he played well as a rookie. I thought he showed flashes. I mean, he showed me things that made me say, oh, damn, we might have a guy in a couple years. Doug Marrone benched this guy for Uncle Rico, right? I don't know how I feel about that. Now, you were in part of the decision-making process. As a Bills fan, there's a lot of fans who probably could care less. I want to know, man, what happened with my man EJ? What happened?
Well, you summed it up so well. You were taking me back to some good memories and shaky memories. But EJ at the end of the day was never going to be the guy. Okay. Mm-hmm. Now that we know everything that we know. To your point, I would agree with you where he was showing signs, was getting better. He had that injury. And did we rush him back? And did we do the right thing by even benching him? And it was a mess. And honestly, and this goes to show you like what Sam Darnold's going through right now. Like, sometimes your situation does matter. Like, you can have ability, but if your situation sucks, it might hurt you. And I think EJ's situation hurt him. Like, do I think he was overly talented to be the guy? No. I personally, I wasn't with the Bills when they drafted him. I came in right after that. I scouted EJ with the Saints. And, I always thought he was going to be a good backup quarterback, possibly a starter. I didn't see franchise. Right. And when the Bills took him in the first round, I mean, I remember like, whew, hey, good for you. You have conviction, but let's see what happens. And EJ just wasn't a natural playmaker at the position. He looks the part. And you watch him throw the ball around, it's like, wow, he should be great, but something was always missing come game day. And yeah, injuries hurt and the situation hurt, but it was tough. It was definitely tough to make it work. And then when you start changing coordinators and coaches, and it's over. It's over. So EJ definitely didn't have the best setup, but at the end of the day, I don't think he was ever going to be the right guy.
So you weren't part of the conversation. I thought maybe I was.
I was.
Okay,
because on the benching, I was involved. Okay. I was in those meetings, and that was definitely a coaching decision. That's Marrone's call. That's the coaching decision, and he made that call. So, and Marrone made a lot of good calls. Trust me, Marrone's a good football coach. Doug Marrone is a good football coach. Didn't work here, but the guy can coach. I mean, he had success in Jacksonville, and but he made that call where he just thought EJ needed to just be shelved. Let's just get him right. Let's sit him down. And I don't know, we met with EJ's parents. I mean, it was intense. It was definitely intense. I'd never been a part of anything like that. Yeah, I've never been a part of anything like that. And I don't know if EJ ever recovered from that. I think that might have been a shock to his ego.
Well, actually, to your point just then, he was on Eric Wood's podcast last summer. I don't remember the exact month or whatever, but I follow Eric's podcast closely.
Eric's awesome.
And Eric's awesome.
Awesome.
And EJ actually said on there, he said, I thought that I was, kind of trending to be a good quarterback in the league. And after that, it pulled my confidence, and it kind of made me question myself if I could be a quarterback in this league. And it made me question. So the reason why I said it was personal for me is because, like I said, as a fan, I wanted that to work. I remember when EJ, the game winning touchdown to Stevie, and everybody got excited, like, oh my God, it could happen. Now Stevie was wide open, I guess, but it's like, it was big time. It was a big moment. And
big time.
So I was excited about that. So thank you again. Thank you for being so honest, man. You're just open. This is cool. So and then lastly,
go ahead. I'm sorry. I hope I answered your question. Like, I hope I gave you some insight on it, but
no, you did, because like I said, it's a lot of times we speculate, and it's like, well, what happened there? Was it this? Was it that? And you're like, well, no, it was coach's call, and you answered the question. Thank you, man.
All right, cool.
It's cool to get this insight. I tried to reach out to Doug a while back, and I completely understand why Doug wasn't ready to do interviews for Buffalo podcasters. But I am one of the guys that's on Doug's side. So let him know if he ever changes his mind, he can come on a Code of Conduct, and I got his back.
I'll tell him that now. No, the one thing you have to understand with both of us is we know we made mistakes, and but we did some good things too, and we just like. To me, that's the only reason I like talking about. I'm cool with talking about the misses, but I'm also, I like talking about the Matt Milanos and the Trey Whites, and we did do some good things. So
yeah, absolutely, and that's the thing that I try to give credit for.
Yeah.
It's like because to your point earlier, the same exact picks, every single pick you guys made, every free agent signing, everybody you traded for. If EJ Manuel would have worked as a quarterback, or if you would have drafted somebody else as a quarterback that would have worked. You would I wouldn't be talking to you right now because you would still be you would be getting ready for this week. So it's literally about that position.
Josh Allen didn't take the step he took.
Yeah,
you guys would be banging down the door to replace Bean. You know what I mean? Like they have a lot of misses in their drafts. Like
and you know what? We love Josh. So we love Josh so much. I love Josh dearly.
Should love Josh.
His rookie season, he showed us so many like a lot of rookies do. He showed us flashes. I think he threw 58% or 56% for the first year. If Josh was throwing 56% last year, and if Josh was throwing for whatever last season, we would be looking for a new GM or a new head coach because we would not have been 13-3 in the AFC Championship. So you're right.
Nobody talks about Ed Oliver and Edmonds just getting beat. Those guys get beat down against the run. Like those guys are non-factors. And those are high first-round picks.
Well, I think Ed is more about it's the position. He's out of position. He's not that guy. Yeah, Ed's not supposed to be playing. He basically was trying to play Star's position last year, and I just don't. And like I said, you would know more. So I'm asking.
No. What I'm saying is, when you take a guy that high,
I got you.
To me, when you take those are top 10 picks, right? Wasn't Oliver top 10 and Edmonds?
Yeah,
I'm asking.
I believe Oliver was 9. I believe
in that range, but. I mean, you don't want to have to say, you don't want to make excuses for guys like that. They should just be plug and play. That's how I view those types of picks. To your point, yes. Could Oliver probably have a little more value with another guy eating up the blocks? Yeah. I get that.
Okay. Well, I mean, and it's fair either way, because you're right.
Yeah.
A ninth overall pick, you're like, that's a guy.
Because
really, we were shocked that he fell to us at 9.
Right. I think people thought the Aaron Donald thing and it was going to be that. But regardless, let's see how they play this year. They might take a step. I mean, they are young and they do get better. So I don't want to sit there and say they can't play. But
right.
Those picks don't even get talked about. Like
right. No,
because
you're right.
of Josh Allen, because of Josh.
Yeah, he when you have a great quarterback, it masks a lot of the issues that you send teams to have. And rushing defense for us is, boy, that's our Achilles heel. I would like to, and then we can go from here. We spent a good hour and change, man. I appreciate all of this.
That's so cool,
on Tyler's show, you and Doug were on one time, and you talked about the Shady trade. And how the whole thing went down. And I know Tyler's show is popular. I know a lot of people listen to it, but I do feel like there's a sector of the Buffalo fan base who isn't aware of Tyler's pod yet.
Right.
I would love for you to kind of just like run through that story again, because I thought it was like probably one of the coolest stories. Like just to hear how that whole thing went down, man.
I'll give it to you because it is one of the coolest things I've ever been a part of. Now, first of all, Shady went. I'm from Harrisburg. I'm not from Harrisburg. We went to the same high school, though. Obviously, I'm older. Bishop McDevitt in Harrisburg, PA. So that morning, we were getting ready to meet. We had just hired Rex. So we had Greg Roman. We had Dennis Thurman, the D coordinator. We had Denny Crossman, Anthony Lynn. We were all down in West Palm Beach at the Pagulas, meeting on their yacht every day. Okay. And I tell this because I want everybody to know this is something that I wish everybody could experience one day. I never thought in my life I'd be on a yacht.
Right.
So we're sitting on a yacht and we're talking football, right? Breaking the team down. What are we going to do? Who are we getting rid of? Who are we keeping? And that morning, Whaley and I were getting ready to go over to the yacht. And I brought I said to him, I was reading some stuff. I was like, Shady might be I think the Eagles might be done with Shady. And he's like, well, that's interesting. You know, we both like, that'd be interesting to see. It turns out that day we get a call from the Eagles. Now we were taking a little break and we were sitting up top on the Bulls yacht, just sitting there like taking a little break. And Doug gets the call from the Eagles. It was their director of personnel. I think it was Ed Manowitz at the time called. And hey, Doug, you know, whatever. Shady, hey, we're shopping Shady. You are? Yeah, we're interested. Who do you want from our team? He's like, I'll call you back. Howie Roseman calls Doug back. Yeah, well, you know, we like Kiko. You do? Who else? Oh, Kiko's good.
That's
okay.
It.
So we're revamping this team, right? So we have all these new coaches on the yacht, and we have Anthony Lynn, who obviously loves running backs, and Greg Roman loves running the football. And we're like, Shady for Kiko. We basically yelled down the yacht like you're doing fantasy football. Hey, Kiko for Shady. Rex almost jumped off the boat. Like he wanted to jump in the water and celebrate. And basically we were all celebrating hard that night. That was one of those that I don't know how many people can experience a trade like that. It was that easy, that fast. And we felt like, you know, at the end of the day, we still didn't have the quarterback, but Shady was, I mean, obviously what he came to Buffalo and did was just incredible.
Big time, man. Big time. I'm a cut that one part when you said just Kiko. Okay, I'm gonna use that as a meme for the rest of the season. Like seasons going forward, when he plays and he does something that gets on my nerves. Just Kiko. Okay.
Kiko.
Well, listen, Jim, man,
I appreciate. By the way, Kiko's a beast.
Oh yeah,
I just felt like we're getting a superstar playmaker against a good linebacker.
Yeah, no, and you know what? A lot of times too, because I also give him credit when Bills fans beat him down, because obviously he's made some plays against us that we don't like.
Kiko's a baller.
No, he's a baller, but he's also, it seems like since he left Buffalo, it seems like he has this dirty side of him where I don't want to call him dirty, but I'm saying we just don't like him in Buffalo. I'm gonna leave it there. But the thing is, I still tell people, look, the guy could ball, man. There was a legend of Kiko Alonso for a reason.
Hey.
Bills fans loved him. We just were happy to get Shady more. That is all. Like we forgot.
I think that's a very fair way to say it.
Yeah, no, we absolutely loved Kiko on Buffalo. At least I did. I remember it being a thing, man.
Talking about a good player against Hall of Fame.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Shady is absolutely that.
I do. I think Shady is. I love Shady.
Yeah, and I'm happy he got one. I know he didn't get one as like the feature guy because of his age, but I'm happy he got a couple of them, man. He's the guy. So, Jim, thank you, man. Hopefully one day we can do this again. Yeah, we got to do this again, like closer to the season or during the season sometime. Get your insight on a game.
I'd be down.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. Hey, everybody, y'all know how we do it here. This is the Buffalo Rumblings Podcast Network. Join me tomorrow, same time. I have CJ Spiller, Buffalo Bills former first-round pick and current running back coach down in Clemson, who is he has a good eye. He got a good perspective on the guy that some Bills fans want to draft. So join me tomorrow when me and CJ get to break that down and talk about the draft. And y'all know how we do it here. Y'all take care of each other. Y'all love each other and live in peace. And as always, stay positive and test negative. Go